Hey guys, long time no speak. I have a lot to talk to you guys about. So I have been spending time with a lot of people from different backgrounds and things like that. And we were talking about one of my friends, the guy that I'm dating right now actually. He's ex-military, ex-cop. And he has like multiple degrees of black belts. And, we were talking, we were watching Top Gun. We've been watching all these movies, Rambo, Top Gun, Commando, all that stuff, right? Back, like, flashback from the 80s. And it like bothered me because this is when Goose dies, right, in a training. And my boyfriend was a paratrooper. I'm cleaning up, so excuse me, but I'm gonna live my life. He's a paratrooper for the military, so he jumped out of planes like all over, all the time. And he was telling me, like, I asked him, I was like, do people ever pass in training, like the movie? And he's like, yeah, it's just part of it, But it just kills me because it's like we're preparing and we're training for, God forbid, a war, right? Like, to be ready for this stuff. But then we were watching this other show and I couldn't remember what. And it bothered me because they were starting wars over ego. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said that about my daughter. I can't believe his daughter or his son rejected my daughter. Something like that, right? And then they would start wars over it, and people would die. Like, we were watching a movie where, like, the sheer number of people that died, I think it might have been Rambo. I don't know, but Rambo, I don't think he killed anybody. He was very mindful because he was a Green Beret, right? But there was another movie and I was like, oh my God. Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he blew up like buildings trying to get his daughter back. So they kidnapped his daughter. And then he had special set of skills, It's kind of like Taken, but Commando. It was like the first Taken, but like better one. And he blew up these buildings. And of course you would think that they had the people that were trying to protect the compound. So you're gonna, like, you're thinking to yourself, like, they kidnapped his daughter, he's getting his daughter back. And the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm looking at the number of people that are being killed. And I watched this as a kid, and I didn't think anything of it. I was on his side too, right? Because we root for our side. But in the back of my mind, now that I'm older, and even when I was growing up, I kind of was aware of that. Like, I was like, but wait a minute. Like, don't they have family and friends and kids and brothers, and aren't they sons and daughters, So I was very mindful and aware of death at a young age. But watching it now as an adult, I was like, oh my God, the number of people that died because this one guy wanted something from this guy, kidnapped this guy's daughter, and this guy just wants his daughter back. And he has to go through all of these people to get to her. So one greedy man's desire caused the death of all of the people in this movie. But then, when he's on the compound, like, he's killing all of these people, and more people are running out to fight him. And I was like, yo, on the real, if I saw 6 of my friends getting killed by this one guy, and then I saw another 10, I'm not running to fight this guy. I'm out. Or I'm lying down on the floor and I'm pretending that I'm dead. I'm not gonna, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna die for some dude. Screw him. You don't pay me enough to die. You pay me enough to protect your thing, but not to die. And they're running out there. And I'm like, why are they running out there? Do they think that if they're gonna, let's say they did kill Arnold Schwarzenegger, do you think they're gonna get a promotion or a bonus? Like, dude, seriously. And I'm thinking to myself, like, all of those sons and daughters, right? Because every single one of them was a son and daughter of someone, right? They might have been brothers and sisters. They might have been, fathers, or because they were mostly men, or husbands. And they're gone because they were at work. Because they were at work and something happened and they died. And then it made me think about, like, the police officers and stuff like that. Because, he was an ex-cop. He's like, well, we put our lives on the line every day. I was like, yes, but you choose to put your life on the line. And because of that, you get rewarded with, like, a pension and different things. I was like, but it's your choice. But the whole point is that you shouldn't really be putting your life on the line, because your job is to fight crime, not to write tickets. Like, that's a whole other thing. We get into arguments all the time. I was like, your job isn't to take away our civil liberties and write tickets and give us misdemeanors over that. Your job was literally to protect us from criminals, from horrible, bad people, not from somebody who's talking on the phone. Yes, I know that you can get into an accident, and I'm sorry if anybody you know passed away, but that's a civil liberty. You should be able to, if you're smart enough, talk on the phone and drive. But I've seen people almost hit pedestrians or people on their bikes because they were on the phone, they weren't paying attention. I'm just saying, that's part of the reason we have this overpopulation, is because idiots were supposed to have passed because of their mistakes, but we stopped them from making this mistake, and then therefore they're still around, and that's why we have so many people. Whole nother subject. Don't care what you think. Don't even leave a comment. I'm gonna delete it. So I was like, I don't feel like the police should be like, if you're on the street smoking pot, who gives a fuck? Mind your business. I don't like pot. I've smoked pot. I don't like it. It's not for me. I'm not a pothead. I know potheads. I won't date potheads because it's not my thing. And I don't like the double personality, but that's a whole other subject. I want to talk about it. So I was like, there's just certain things like that. Open container of liquor. Who gives a fuck? Mind your business. Go find the drug dealers. You'll get more money if you find the drug dealers and you confiscate their drugs, their money, and their assets, and then put them in auction, than you will trying to give tickets to random people on the street. Most of these people have no money, or they're homeless. Like, I remember somebody telling me, he's like, I'm homeless and they're giving me a ticket for jumping the turnstile. You're never gonna find me. I don't got an address. That was funny. Even the judge is like, seriously, like, why are you giving people tickets for jumping a turnstile? I know it's wrong, but it's $2.25 fucking cents. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might charge them $25 for it. It's a misdemeanor. It's a bad thing. I know, I get it. It's a bad thing. But, like, go find a criminal. Why don't you sit there and look at who's going through the turnstile and try to find the guy who has drugs in his pocket? You know what I mean? Or a gun on him. Or the guy who just, like, that you have an APB out for. Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's a better use of them. And I feel like cops should be fighting crime, not civilians. They go after civilians, regular people that are not really committing any type of crime. They turn that act into a crime, and then they create records for them. And those records follow them for the rest of their lives. And if a judge sees anything on that record, they already assume that this person's bad, and then it just makes it worse. Like, if you get arrested for something dumb, you know what I mean? And then something else, and then something, like, it adds up, and then but they weren't even crimes in the first place. I know I got 2 tickets for speeding, and I wasn't speeding. I dated a guy who was a cop who told me, if you see cop lights, just pull over. You don't want to have a problem. So I was driving, and some guy was speeding next to me, and the cop had the lights on, so I pulled over. And cops, believe it or not, they're gonna take the easy target. So they pulled me over and gave me the ticket twice. Same exact freaking spot. One on one side of the street, one on the other side of the street. Because I'm the idiot that pulled over. And after that, I got pulled over one more time, and I didn't stop. And I went for like a mile or two, a couple of blocks, and then finally I stopped. That guy was pissed, and he was like, oh, you have a broken taillight and whatever, but those are fixable things, so I fixed it. But that's why I didn't stop. Because I did stop the first 2 times, and I wasn't guilty of anything, and I got found guilty for it. This is so, and I shouldn't have even been guilty. Like, if somebody's speeding, go after the one who is speeding. Don't go after the easy target. Like, there's so many times that I've seen cops. I've seen people speeding. I've seen a cop chasing the person that was speeding. I've seen people pull over, and I've seen the cop pull over that person instead of the person that was speeding. Same thing that happened to me. Why? Because it's an easy target. It's a ticket. They need tickets to pay for their pensions. Not because you did anything wrong, to pay for their pensions. Then I'm driving along the street, and I see these guys speeding, zipping through cars, doing illegal shit. They never get pulled over. They never get the ticket. You know who gets the ticket? The innocent person. You know what I mean? And then that stays on your record. What does that do? That increases your insurance. So now it's different because cops are supposed to be fighting crime. So now they create crimes. They're creating things and saying this is a crime. Now you have to pay for it. Not only do you have to pay for it, but then it affects your insurance. So now you get pulled over, your civil liberties are taken away from you because you should be able to be a free citizen as long as you're not harming another person. You didn't get into a car accident. You didn't hit another car. You were just being reckless. But that's your choice. And if you die from that recklessness, that's on you. And some people are like, yeah, but people die every day from dumb stuff, from people being reckless. That's how you learn. Like you hear about it and you're like, oh my God, and then it makes you a more safe person. But no, these people are getting, don't argue with me. I'm going to delete the comments. Don't have time for it. I understand. I get it. Mothers against drunk driving, speeding, people dying. I get it. My cousin died from a car accident, from something like that. I've had 4 surgeries from a car accident, from something like that. But that's not the point. The point is that your civil liberty should not be taken away. Your ticket, you shouldn't get a ticket for it, and that ticket shouldn't affect your car insurance, which some people would argue be like, oh, but you're reckless, so then that makes you a higher risk, so we're going to raise your insurance. Yeah, but if you've never been in an accident, why are you raising my insurance? You should raise my insurance if I've been in an accident, not because I got a ticket. Because I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people that are getting tickets are not guilty. They just need to write a certain number of tickets, and they're going to look for whoever they can get to get those tickets because they have to hit a quota. Period. I remember once I got pulled over and I got a ticket for because my phone fell off the GPS, and I was at a stoplight, and I was putting my phone back on to the holder so that I could see the GPS thing, and I got a ticket for that. And I'm like, but I'm at a stoplight. Yeah, but you're not supposed to be touching your phone. And I'm like, but it fell from the thing and I was putting it back on. I got a ticket for that. And then what else? I got one for a hands-free device. So a cop told me, like, you're not supposed, because I didn't have Bluetooth. He's like, you can just use headphones. So, like the earphones. So I put both of them in my ear. I didn't know that. I got a ticket. You're not supposed to have 2 of them in your ear. You can only have 1 of them in your ear. Why are you giving me a ticket? Just educate me. You're a police officer. Your duty is to protect and serve. I didn't do anything wrong. I was following the law. I had my headphones in because I was driving and I didn't have Bluetooth, right? So why not just say, ma'am, you only need 1 headphone, and let me go. And now I'm educated and I'll only put 1 in my ear. Instead, you give me a ticket. Why? Same thing with that cop. Instead of giving me a ticket, just tell me you're not supposed to, you have to pull over to the side of the road if you want to fix that your phone fell off the GPS. And I'm like, okay, but why give me a ticket? Why are you giving so many freaking tickets? That's not what we hire you for. See, the only reason police officers have power is because we give them that power. We give them that respect. Because one thing that they know that we all forget is that there's more of us than there are of them. It doesn't matter if it's military. It doesn't matter if it's police. It doesn't matter if it's state police or if we go into martial law. There are more of us than there are of them, and they know that. The only reason they have power is because we give them the respect, because we want them there when we need them. They need to remember that we have the power, not them. And that if we see a cop doing something wrong and there's 15 of us, 15 of you guys can take down 1 cop or 3 cops. They're going to fight back, but you could take them down. And they need to remember that. Their job is to protect and serve, not to use excessive force, not to ticket and take away our civil liberties. And they feel justified. They're so brainwashed that they're like, no, but you broke the law. Who created that law? Because I didn't agree to that. I didn't even know that what I was doing was breaking the law. You're supposed to educate me, because there is nowhere, nobody's going to sit there and read penal law, the whole freaking penal code. They don't even teach you that in high school. I only know that because I took criminal justice in college. Like, I took a bunch of criminal justice classes. I took a lot of classes that I liked. But like my whole theme was like CSI criminal justice as like an elective, deciding if I wanted to do that because Pace University had just created that major. So I took those classes. That's the only reason I know about all that stuff. And I dated a couple of cops when I got older, like in my late 30s or whatever. And now this guy, you know? But like so many reasons that people get tickets, they didn't even know they were breaking the law. So instead of you giving the ticket, educate the person. And if you see that person committing the crime again, then give them a ticket. Then they deserve it. But if they don't know, they shouldn't get a ticket. That's ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous to charge somebody for something that they didn't know. Now, clearly, murder, rape, I didn't know that was illegal. That's different because you're imposing your will on another person. But these police officers are imposing their will and their belief over us, who are just trying to live our daily lives and have a great time and just be normal, going to work, going to meet a friend, taking our mom to the hospital, whatever it is that you're doing, before they just stop you and ruin your day. I believe they're trying to lower your energy level. So I believe that there's different vibrational levels. And cops, bills, politicians, laws, all those things are meant to lower your vibrational level. Just when you think you get ahead, they kick you again and they give you another obstacle to run through. Like, it's like an obstacle course. And then you get through the obstacle course and you're like, yay! And then they're like, nope, boom, here's a ticket. Nope, boom, somebody just died in your family. Nope, boom, you're late on your mortgage payment. Like something, it's always something. And it's like another obstacle course that you have to run through. And then when you get through that, there's another obstacle course. And it's like, and you didn't create any of these obstacles. You were born into this system of these obstacles, but they created them so that you can't, we all come here with a purpose, right? We all come here with a purpose and we're supposed to be doing it, but we can't do it because we're distracted by all of these things. These are distractions that they create, so you never fulfill your purpose. So you never fulfill why you're here. So you never find your gift and then make it what you're supposed to do. Like you'll never share it with the world. Few people are like blinders on. They're like, I don't care what the obstacle is. I'm not dealing with it. I'm moving forward, charging forward, waiting. At some point the money's going to come, charging forward. Then they throw money at all the obstacles. Right? That is the best way to do it, to be quite honest. But sometimes when you're trying to do that, you get arrested, or you get a ticket, or something happens, or you get penalties on your taxes, which we shouldn't even be paying, because most of the money that we get is not really coming back to us in the first place. But anyway, you know, like that tea on tax, you know, the Boston Tea Party, that's why we like separated from England, because of the taxes. And now we're getting taxed for everything all over again, and nobody's saying a goddamn fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, you bought your property, that's your property. There's no reason for them to take your property away because you didn't pay your property tax. You shouldn't be paying property tax, and it shouldn't be that high. I don't care what anybody says. Property taxes shouldn't be more than $10,000 a year unless it's a commercial property. And even then, that's excessive because it's your home. And if you don't have the money to pay the property tax, they shouldn't be able to take your home away, because that is land that you technically purchased. So you shouldn't have to pay tax on that land. You're already paying water, sewage, all of these other things, sanitation, for that. And now you want to charge me property tax on top of it? No. You shouldn't be taxed for property at all, ever, never. You should never pay property tax. That whole property tax of it shouldn't even exist. You know, you pay your water tax, you know, like your water bill, you pay your sewage, you pay your sanitation. That makes sense. But to pay property tax, it's not necessary. Oh, but it's for parks and this and that and neighborhoods. Well, then people should find out, you know, what is all the other taxes that you're paying for? What are sales tax for that specific area? What, like, city tax? Like, we have city tax in the city. I want to see where all this money's going, because I don't think anybody should be making over $100,000. I don't. If you work for the city, I don't think you should at all, because that's tax money. It's not free money. It's not a corporation that's making a profit and creating a product. They're just ripping money out of our hands so that they can make six figures. No. If you want to work for the city, you should be a civil servant and be happy with whatever pension you get under $100,000. Even with overtime, you shouldn't be making over $100,000. You don't deserve it. I know a lot of city workers, they don't deserve it. Cops, they make good money. Firefighters, they risk their lives. But there's benefits that come with it. It's a choice that they make. But these MTA executives, these police executives? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You're a civil servant. You should be doing it because it's what you want to do. It's what you're called to do. And all the other benefits that come with it, the medical, the pension, the vacation days, the days off, the paid days, the sick leave, all that stuff. Those are bonuses. That's what you get. You go to the post office, these people are slower than molasses. It's like in every single movie. You go to the post office, you see like the sloth in that cartoon. Because that's how slow they are. The DMV, the same thing. They make great money. Why are you working so slow? Because they feel comfortable. No, you should be working at an average pace because you're getting paid. You have all of those bonuses and perks, and yet you still have an attitude when you deal with people. What? I had to go to the city to pay a 17-year-old ticket that I already paid. I paid with a money order, but it was 17 years old. I didn't keep it. Then they tell me, oh, there's a warrant out for your arrest because of this ticket. It was $10 for an open container of liquor. And it wasn't me. It was the guy that I was with who was drinking out of an open container. And he offered it to me and I said no. Because I was like, if you know me, I'm like a prude kind of like, I'm not breaking the law. I don't want no problems, you know? And because I was with him, we both got a ticket. I didn't even take a sip. We both got a ticket. And I paid that $10. And I remember that was the first money order I ever bought in my whole life. I got a money order. I mailed it in, and 17 years later, I got pulled over. Luckily, I had a cop with me that was following me. He came out and he was like, a really big, high up there cop. And he talked to the guys, and he was like, I'll make sure she takes care of it, no big deal. I went down to the city to take care of it. They were so nasty. This woman was just sitting there with her back turned to me. She wasn't doing anything. There was nothing in front of her. She was sitting there, and I was like, excuse me, ma'am. And she turned around and she was pissed at me. There was no papers in front of her, no computer, nothing. She was just sitting there. I wouldn't be surprised if she was sleeping. And then I'm like, I'm sorry, I need to fix this. You know, like I was told that there's a warrant out for my arrest. You know, I don't know for what. She looked it up. It was a $10 ticket that was 17 years old. That shit should be fucking dismissed after like 10 years. But anyway, she got mad at me for bothering her, sent me to the wrong department. I waited online, got to that department. They're like, no, you're not supposed to go there. You're supposed to go upstairs. I went upstairs. I went to go talk to the lady. It was time for lunch. The whole office closes at 1 o'clock for lunch. Everything. I'm like, this is some bullshit. Can't some people go to lunch at 12 and other people go to lunch at 1? Like, there's at least 2 people in a department. Why does the whole entire department have to close at the same time? This is so inefficient. So then I have to wait a whole hour, come back, right? And I'm paying for parking, so I have to keep going outside, putting more money in the meter. They don't give a fuck, right? I put more money in the meter than I paid for that fucking ticket, okay? Then they tell me, oh, you have to pay $10. And I'm like, I paid it, but I don't have the receipt for the money order because that was 17 years ago. And I was always under the impression that you don't have to keep your receipts and tickets for more than 7 years, right? That's what they say for taxes, right? So I don't understand why it's different for the city, but apparently it is. So she's like, yeah, just pay the $10, not a big deal. I paid the $10. I was like, I need a receipt, right? Because I learned my lesson, and I keep that receipt for the rest of my life. I have it like in a file, locked away. Like, fuck this shit, right? And I'm so annoyed with this. And then she's like, now you have to go back downstairs and show the lady so she could take it off your record. I'm like, but I just paid. And they're like, yeah, but you still have to take it off your record. So you have to show them the receipt. I'm like, this is some bullshit. I'm sorry. I've worked for billion-dollar companies, executive assistant to the global director, executive assistant to the vice president. I see how businesses run, the most efficient businesses in the world. And I look at these, and I'm looking at the city, and I'm like, I should be making 6 figures, overseeing the efficiency of all of these departments, going in as a consultant to help them get more efficient. I'm so angry at how all these things are run, and these people are just like, it is what it is, it's the system, and da-da-da. Fuck the system. Fix the system. You want to take my tax dollars? You want to fucking give me tickets? You better make sure that that money's being used properly and that people aren't funneling it and stealing it like they are all the time. So now I have to go back to that dumb bitch in the first place that I saw show her the receipt, and then so they sent me back to her, and I was like, hi, I got the receipt. And she looked at me, and she just turned around for 20 minutes and did nothing. She just sat there and ignored me. And I'm like, excuse me, is there a supervisor? Is there someone I can talk to? Totally ignored me. I went to the door next door, tried to talk to somebody. I started crying. Some guy stopped me. He's like, why are you crying? I'm like, I'm sitting here. I'm trying to talk to her. You're telling me that I have to go down here. I've been here for like 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, you all went to lunch. I've been sent from department to department, floor to floor. And then I'm sitting here and she's ignoring me. There's nothing in front of her. No TV, no screen, no nothing. He's like, oh, she's on her lunch break. Well, then tell me you're on your fucking lunch break. Don't ignore me. Is there nobody else in the whole freaking department? I couldn't even take it. She wasn't eating. She was doing nothing. She was just sitting there. No book, nothing. I'm telling you, it was crazy. No smartwatch. Like, I was looking. Be like, I'm on my lunch break. Can you come? Like, say something. And then I can't even believe these motherfuckers have jobs. These piece of shit assholes, city workers, have jobs. Right? And there's so many people that are far more educated than them, and they don't have a job. And then the job that they do have, they don't even do it. And they don't even do it well. But they don't even do it. And they sit there and they have the audacity to have an attitude with you. The only reason they have a job is because of the fees and penalties that we pay and the taxes that we pay. The least you could do is be like, hi, how are you? How can I help you? Even if you're having a bad day. Hey, ma'am, how are you? Sure. I'm on my lunch break. I'll get back to you in 20 minutes. You know? Like, nothing. And the guy's like, yeah, she's like that. And I'm like, she's like that. That's acceptable behavior. What, is she tenured? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking to myself. Like, such a fucked up system. And this is a city office that everybody has to go to get this shit done. So she looks at it after her 20 fucking minute break. And she's like, no, you're not supposed to be here. You go over there. I wasn't even in the right place. Why do they keep sending me back to this bitch? She doesn't even, what the fuck does she do? She doesn't even do anything. What is she getting paid for? I go across the way, I bring the receipt. The guy like takes this piece of paper, prints it out, stamps it. And I'm like, so it's off my record. I never have to think about this again. He's like, it's off your record. You never. I said, thank you. I said, where do I go to make a complaint? Because I wanted to complain about that bitch. You know what I mean? Because I was like, fuck this shit. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about all that stuff. And I'm actually writing a book about all of that and more. Just like how, like, all the experiences that people I know have gone through that they should never have gone through. All their basic civil liberties and rights that have been taken away, how their lives have been affected by it, the inefficiency of the government. Like, what the fuck, people? If you're gonna take our money, use it properly. You know that there's departments of the government that are still using, like, computers from, like, the 80s or the 90s. Like, they haven't even updated their computer system. Because if they update the whole system, that whole entire division is gonna have to close down, and they can't do that. And I don't understand why they can't update it computer by computer or step by step, but there's still divisions of the government that are still using that green and white paper, that data kind of paper and printer, that DOS system, because they haven't updated their shit. And we're paying taxes for that? Had you just made it more efficient, you could work with less money. You don't have to employ so many people. You don't have to. If you're working efficiently and you're using your money properly, the money that's been funded to you, right? Because what they do is they ask for more funding than they need, then they force themselves to spend it so they can continue getting that funding. So that's why they feel comfortable. They're like, oh, well, we got the money anyway. We got to spend it anyway. So we're just going to, you know, sit here and do nothing. Dun, 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 dun. And then there's people who are on the street working their butts off, sweating for like $10, $15 an hour. No pension, no days off, no sick leave. None of the perks that you're getting. And you have the audacity to have an attitude with me? Or anybody that walks in there? You should be so fucking joyful that you have all of that. Every day you go to work, you should be like, thank you, God. Especially now with the pandemic. And you have the audacity to be rude to anybody? I'm sorry if anything happened in your life. But I've worked customer service, and my grandfather could have died, and I still have to be like, hi, welcome to the Gap. Hi, welcome to US Airways. Hi, welcome to wherever the hell it was that I was working at. I don't understand. So yeah, we were talking about all that. And all of that stemmed from the commando thing, because I was like, people are not valuing life. And like, they're not understanding or being mindful that like, okay, both people that are fighting for their country, or fighting for something they believe in, right? Or they're fighting for their culture, their way of life. And they're willing to give up their lives for it. And they're being sent in droves and dying in droves. And they're being sent in by people who are supposed to have their best interests at heart and protect them. But they're being sent in because those people view them as expendable. Which is why I was always told never join the military, because you could die. You know, like they don't care about you. They don't care about you. You're expendable. Like, even unless you're like a general or a captain or something like that, you're expendable. You know, that's what you're for. You go to the front line, pray to God that you learned everything and you absorbed it, and that you come home. And my argument was, we forget when our loved ones die, that there were other loved ones on the other side that had, you know, like when our brothers, our sisters, our moms, our dads, our cousins, our nieces, our nephews, they die in war. God only knows how many people on the other side had brothers and sisters and cousins. And I was telling him, I said, that's unfair, because I was watching Commando and I was watching all these people run to give their lives to fight this one guy. And that one guy was totally beating their ass and killing all of them. And they're still running into that because they're so brainwashed that they run into that danger. Where I'm like, look, if I see 6 people die, I'm out. Bye. Like, I'm living, I'm going home. Bye, Felicia, I'm out. You know, like, nope, sorry. That's why I never became military. If anything, I would have worked in the CIA or the FBI, because my brain was like meant for that. But so I looked at that, and then I thought to myself, what bothers me is that the people that they're fighting for are the ones sending them in. And sometimes it's not even over anything it's because they were insulted. They felt insulted. So then that one thing turned into another thing, which had a ripple effect, and then it turned into war. You know, like, remember Tristan and Isolde? Is it Tristan and Isolde? No, it was Troy, the Legend of Troy. How, like, the lady left her husband to be with this other guy, and she loved him more. So then the husband waged war on the Troy. Watch the movie, it's really good. All these people died over a woman. Like, when you think about it, when it's war, it's like, what are we fighting for? Before we give up our lives, I want to know what we're fighting for. What happened? Nobody says that. Why are we fighting? They just go in blindly, trusting that there is a reason, and that they don't need to know what that reason is. And my argument is that no, the kings are responsible for their people, and their people serve the king because the king serves the people, right? The kings, the presidents, the people of power, it is their duty to maintain peace. This presidency hasn't done that. It's their duty to maintain peace so that they can be honorable, so that people will continue to serve them. This is how dictators get overthrown all the time. Your duty is to serve the people. Protect your people so that they don't have to go into war. Because you're doing the negotiating, you're protecting them, you're creating and maintaining the peace. Not starting wars to send droves of people to die. I'm starting to understand and believe that war is just a way to control population. It's like, oh, we have too many people, we gotta go to war now, gotta kill a couple 100,000 people, if not a couple million people, make sure that they die so that the population goes down, so that the world doesn't heat up, and that we're not using too many resources, and we're not having so many animals, and blah, 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 that argument that's out there. But there's never a good reason for war. The only time you should go to war is if somebody's trying to take over your land. Like, if somebody landed on our land and they were trying to take over our land or our government, then you fight. It's like, no, you stay on your side, I stay on my side. We're good. Why are you trying to come over here? That's the only reason I think you have to fight. You know what I mean? And when other people come into your land and try to impose their will and their way onto your land and your culture, no. No, you don't do that. This is our land. This is our culture. You don't come and impose your... We'll welcome you and you can practice your ways, but you don't come and try to change our laws to suit you. No, I don't believe in that. And I'll say it. I'm a tolerant person and I'm for everybody being happy. But I don't believe, because then what happens is more and more people will come and then that country will again invade us. And that's the part that I have a problem with. No, we will tolerate your ways and your culture. We will let you do whatever you need to do, practice your ways, but not to the point where you're changing our laws to suit you. You came to this country, then you need to be suited to this country and these laws. And we're very fair. This is a very fair country. If I go to Sweden, I need to abide by Sweden's laws. If I go to Tanzania, I need to abide by Tanzania's laws and ways and culture. If they want me to cover my head, I need to cover my head when I'm in that country. That is just the way that it is. Here, we're very patient and tolerant, and I'm all for that. But I'm not for an entire culture of people coming in and having us change our ways to suit them. I don't believe in that. You know, I love what we do in New York. You have the Hasidic areas, you have the Muslim areas, you have the Italian areas, you have the Indian areas, you have, I just learned about the Israelites, you have an area for them. Like, there's so many, and they live cool in their area. You know what I mean? And then, of course, in like suburbs, you'll have a mixture of all of them. But they live, like the suburbans have their own way of life. And everybody kind of like lives the same way of life in that suburban area, but they practice their religion at home. I'm cool with all of that. But when a whole entire country like wages war in another country because they want to kill the people and take over their land and their resources, and like colonization, I have a problem with colonization. That's basically what I'm saying. I have a serious problem with colonization, because if you have too many people, then you need to start killing some people. That's on you. You know, that, or you need to ration things, or you need to make space, or you need to limit the number of children that people can have like they do in China. But you don't get to come and take over an island and kill all the indigenous people on the island so that you can have a place to live. Not cool. That's part of my indigenous documentary. And like a lot of these things are part of that. How like each culture has their own way of life until somebody came and colonized and changed everything. And it's just the spoken word that's left. I want to learn that spoken word. I want to learn that history, and I want to share it with the world, because there's so much more truth that we're not being told, that's being omitted, it's being edited. Because remember, history, his story, is being written by the conqueror, the winner of the war. And what happens is the winner of the war tells their version, which is what we have in our history books. But then there's a spoken version of the losers that they're like, no, that's not what happened. They came in and they did this to us. I want to hear that story. The story that nobody talks about. So, I don't know how I got on this, but that's kind of like where that whole Rambo Commando rampage of watching videos was about. We went through like a whole 1980s military weekend. I love it. I watched those movies as a kid. So, but yeah. So those are some of the things that are going to be in my book and my documentary. I know my message has been. I was listening to myself, and I'm like, they're totally not going to get it the way that I meant them to get it. But whatever, intention doesn't mean anything, because it's just how you're perceived in the end. I hope you don't take it wrong. Like, I'm not racist in any way whatsoever. I guess the point that I was trying to make from the beginning is colonization is an issue I have a problem with. And that's basically it. Hasta luego. Until next time.